Okay, the syncopation book, Ted Reed. This is the second edition of the original. There's 3 editions altogether. This is the second one. Just some of the page numbers have changed, but everyone is identical in music notation. What I'm going to explore today, or try to explain, is the difference between straight up and down, a jazz feel, swung, or syncopated, and the jazz pattern on the cymbal, straight ahead. There's some language interpretations that we need to understand. Example, straight up and down. Well, straight up and down, if I'm playing eighth notes, would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'll play that on the snare drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's straight up and down. Now, how do I turn that into a pattern that swings, or so to speak, swung? Well, as soon as somebody says to swing that, or it's going to be swung, my brain or my feel goes to a triplet, an eighth note triplet, which is 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the. Now, if I see that in front of me, eighth notes, straight up and down, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm going to interpret that as a swung pattern, like I said, I go to the triplets. But I leave the and of the triplet out. So the 1 would become what it is, 1. I count the and of the triplet, and the and of the straight up and down becomes the da. So if I played a straight line of eighth notes swung, or with a jazz feel, or syncopated, it would become 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the difference between straight up and down. Straight up and down is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. If I swing that, it becomes the triplet with the and of the triplet absent. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, maybe a better way for you to see that, if you don't see that or understand that, is if you have the stick control book. Let's take the third line of the stick control book, which would be 2 rights and 2 lefts, and straight up and down would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, if I said swing that, or play it swung, it would become 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the difference between straight up and down and swung. If I was playing a rock pattern, that's straight up and down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, if I take the eighth notes and swing them, it becomes a shuffle. 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. The 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. That's the difference between straight up and down and swung or syncopated. Now I'm going to turn to one of the pages in the syncopation book, and we'll start off real easy. Let's go to let me see. It's actually page 30 in this edition. It might be page 29 in the first edition. I really don't know what it is in the third edition. So we're going to stay with this edition, and we're going to play page 30, the first line. Now, you see an eighth note rest, a quarter note, and quarter note. It's in 4/4 time. So I'm going to count this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's straight up and down. So I'll play the first 2 measures straight up and down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 Now I'm going to take those same two measures and I'm going to play them with a swing feel, or swung or syncopated. So I'm going to go to a triplet feel, which would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the first line 1, the first two measures. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and let's go to the third line. Remember, it's page 30, the second edition. So I'm going to line 3, and I'm going to play the first two measures straight up and down. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're going to play that same two measures swung. Okay, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now Ted Reed's syncopation book is also a classic drum book, and it's within the top 3 or 4 drum books ever written. The stick control book and the syncopation are 1 and 2, the best-selling drum books ever. And all teachers that I know use the stick control book and the syncopation book. Now, I just explained the difference between straight up and down and swung. Now, what I'm going to explain is how to play the jazz pattern straight ahead. And I'm going to play my bass drum on the counts of 1, 2, 3, 4. My left foot, I'm going to play 2 and 4, which means on the count of 2, and on the count of 4, I'm going to be closing the hi-hat. So there's a method that I use, which is a heel and toe. My heel is going to be on 1, which opens the hi-hat, 2, which closes the hi-hat, 3, opens the hi-hat, 4, closes the hi-hat. Now while that's going on, I'm going to play my bass drum on the counts of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there's a term also called feathering. I'm not playing rock or any kind of Latin where my bass drum is dominant. My bass drum is going to blend into what I'm playing on top. Now, I'm not going to play the bass drum like this. I'm going to feather it in, so you can just about hear it, but it becomes part of what I'm playing as a whole, as a different kind of note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just about here, but it's there. And with the hi-hat, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to think about that in a triplet vein. I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I'm establishing my bottom. It's just kind of a standard when you're playing straight ahead kind of jazz. The bass drum is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not old school, it's not old hat, it's the way it's played. Now, that being explained, we're going to go to the straight ahead jazz pattern, the ride cymbal part. Again, I'm going to think triplet. Now, my concern when I'm playing a straight ahead jazz gig is that I'm trying to walk, the bass player is just playing a walk, ba-doom, bing, gong, go, ba-doom, boom, bing, bing. So what's going to happen there is I'm going to play straight quarter notes, which is dominating. All right, the rest of the figure, the quarter note is going to sound the same. I'm going to play from the same spot on my cymbal. I'm coming down at the same level. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm not getting 1 and 2 and 3. That's a terrible sound. So I'm coming down from one spot. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and. My quarter notes are all sounding the same. Straight quarter notes. Now I'm going to put in the remainder of the jazz pattern. Remember, the quarter notes sounding the same. 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now, the way I was taught to obtain that sound, the quarter note always being consistent, if you study the level systems, you'll see that when I'm playing that, there's a free stroke, there's a downstroke, and an upstroke. Now when I explain the free stroke, the downstroke, and the upstroke on one surface, I exaggerate, like downstroke, upstroke, tap, tap. Well, I'm not going to play that on a cymbal. I'm going to establish a nice, sweet musical sound. So I'm going to give me a free stroke, which brings my stick back to that position. I need the downstroke, which would give me 2. And that keeps my stick down to play the 1. So now, the object here is called free stroke, down, a free stroke, down, a free stroke, down, a free stroke, down. That gives me a consistent quarter note. Now that's not the only way to play a jazz time. It gets very complicated, and if you want to get very musical, you're playing the music with the band, and you're playing an open time, a free time, and you're kicking the melody. This is just the mechanics of how to establish 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now do it slow. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. The free stroke, down, a free stroke, down, a free stroke, down. That gives me a nice clean sound. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2. Now we established the bass drum, we established the hi-hat, and the ride cymbal. Now let's play them together, no left hand yet. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Nice blend. We're not playing fast. We're not taking it any place there. We're learning the mechanics. Now, that takes care of my right hand, my left foot, and my bass drum. What about the left hand? Well, you want to train yourself to command your left hand to play what you want it to play. And the syncopation book has all these different measures and different feels, and it's just a great book to make you command that left hand to do what you want. At first you're going to be mechanical and you're going to count. Eventually, as you stay with the syncopation book, or that kind of feel with these figures, it will become musical. Now we're going to go backward a little bit here, as I explained to you before, the difference between straight up and down and swung. We're on page 30, the first measure. Straight up and down, which is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Swung would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the reason why I played it on the hi-hat is so you could hear me somewhat. The snare drum kind of drowns my voice out. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play the ride pattern. We're going to play the bass drum, 1, 2, 3, 4, the hi-hat, 2 and 4, heel and toe, against the jazz pattern. I'm going to establish the jazz pattern first, and I'm going to play page 30, the first line, just over and over again. 1 measure, 3 measures, 5 measures, or whatever. But the first line is going to be totally repeating and repeating. So I'm going to establish this. 1 and 2, bass drum hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and now with the left hand. 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Sorry. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2. A little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay, take the second line, straight up and down again. I'm played on a hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I'm going to play it with a jazz feel, swung or thinking triplets. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to play the bass drum, the hi-hat, and the ride cymbal. Remember, it's very important for this kind of figure to have all quarter notes, all four of those quarter notes sounding the same, and the da lighter. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Free stroke, down, up, free stroke, down, up, free stroke, down. Now bass drum. 1, 2, 3, and left foot, heel, toe. 1 and 2 and 3, line 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Little faster. 1, 2, 3. Same thing is occurring. 1. The next version of this we're going to take, and it's not going to be on this video, we're going to do a call, answer. Call with the bass drum, the call with the left hand, answer with the bass drum. Example, we're not going to play the bass drum 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take line 1. I'm going to play the first measure with the hand, the second measure with the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will be coming into another video, and this video is going to have to end because of the time factor. And I thank you for your time and hope this helps out. And if there's any questions or any problems, I will leave my email with the video. You email me and I'll write out a sheet for you and send it to you through Dropbox. Have a good day and practice.